Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is Snigdha Mohapatra, a third year student of KIIT School of Law. I'm currently interning under LEXCLIQ, and in today's video of mine I will be talking about a landmark decision of the Supreme Court regarding compromise and arrangement in a company, that is Miheer H. Mafatlal versus Mafatlal Industries. Now, the basic facts of the case were Mafatlal Industries Limited was incorporated in 1913 under the name of the New Shorrock Spinning and Manufacturing Co. Limited. It was the respondent company. Now, the company was associated with the activity of carrying on business such as cotton spinners and doublers or wool, silk, jute, and hemp, and had its registered office at Ahmedabad in Gujarat. The transferor company, that is Mafatlal Fine Spinning and Manufacturing Company (MFL), was incorporated in 1931 under the Baroda State Companies Act. The company was mainly involved in the business of manufacture and sale of textile piece of goods and chemicals and was registered at Bombay. The transferor company MFL is proposed to be amalgamated with the respondent company MIL. Hitherto, with limited resources and capacity, either company had to forego business opportunities which would otherwise have been profitable to the group, etc. The director of the respondent company, that is MIL, and transfer company, that is MFL, approved the proposal for amalgamation of the two companies pursuant to the respective resolutions passed by them. The detailed scheme of amalgamation was finalized. The directors of both the companies were of the opinion that such amalgamation was in the interest of both the companies. The appellant who has objected to the amalgamation is himself one of the directors of the transferor company MFL. So far as MFL is concerned, the registered office is located at Bombay. The corresponding application on behalf of the transferor company for sanctioning this very scheme of amalgamation was moved in the Bombay High Court. The appellant at this stage did not object to this very scheme of amalgamation. The Bombay High Court sanctioned the said scheme. As the registered office of the transferee is located at Ahmedabad, the respondent transferee company had approached the High Court of Gujarat for sanctioning the same amalgamation scheme. Earlier, the learned judge directed convening of meeting of equity shareholders of the respondent company, where overwhelming majority of the equity shareholders approved the scheme. At the said meeting, resolution was passed without modification by the requisite majority as 5298 members holding fully paid equity shares voted in favor of the scheme and 143 members in holding 86,061 fully paid equity shares voted against the scheme. Thereafter, the respondent company, that is MIL, filed a petition under Section 391, subsection 2 of the Act in response to the notice issued to the central government. Under Section 394A of the Act, the learned additional central government standing counsel appeared before the High Court and submitted to the orders of the court, making it clear that the central government is not to make any representation in favor or against the proposed scheme. 9 objections were raised by the appellant, out of which only 4 survived for consideration. Now, the main judgment delivered in this case was the court looked into the scope of the jurisdiction of the company court, which is called upon the sanction to scheme of amalgamation as per the provision of Section 391 read with Section 393 of the Companies Act before 2013. The court discussed the case of Ray Alabama, New Orleans, Texas, and Pacific Junction Railway Company, wherein it was held that what the court has to do or see, first of all, that the provisions of the statute have been complied with, and secondly, what the minority has been acting bona fide. The court has also to see the minority is not being overdone by a majority having interests of its own clashing with those of the minority whom they seek to coerce. The case basically laid down the following broad contours of such jurisdiction. The sanctioning court has to see first the sanctioning court has to see that all the requisite statutory procedure for supporting such a scheme has been complied with and the requisite meeting for contemplated by section 391 has been held. Second, that the scheme put up for sanction of the court is backed up by the requisite majority vote as required by section 391 subsection 2, that the concerned meetings of the creditors or members or any class of them had the relevant material to enable the voters to arrive at an informed decision for approving the scheme in question. Fourth, that all the necessary material indicated by section 391 subsection 1 subsection A is placed before the voters at the concerned meeting as concerned meeting. Fifth, Sixth is that the proposed scheme of compromise and arrangement is not found to be violative of any provision of law. It is not contrary to public policy. For ascertaining the real purpose underlining the scheme with a view to be satisfied on this aspect, the court thought that it is necessary to pierce the veil of apparent corporate purpose underlying the scheme and can judiciously x-ray the same. Seventh, that the company court has also to satisfy itself that members or class of members or creditors or class of creditors, as the case may be, were acting in a bona fide and in good faith and were not coercing the minority in order to promote any interest adverse to what the latter comprising of the same class whom the perpetuate present. That the scheme as a whole is also found to be just, fair and reasonable. And lastly, the aforesaid broad parameters about the requirements of a scheme for getting the sanction of the court are found to have been met. The court will have no further jurisdiction to sit in appeal over the commercial wisdom of the majority of the class or the persons. With regard to valuation of shares, the court referred to the Gujarat High Court judgment of Re Kamla Sugar Mills Limited, which dealt with a similar objection wherein it was held once the exchange ratio of the shares of the transferee company to be allotted to the shareholders of the transferee company has been worked out by a recognized firm of chartered accountants who are experts in the field of valuation, and if no mistake can be pointed out in the said valuation, it is not fair for the court to substitute its exchange ratio, especially when the same has been accepted with an overwhelming majority by the shareholders. The court's decision in the present case is expedient and well judged and has put an end to various disputable subject matters in the domain of mergers and amalgamation. Thank you so much for watching the video and please subscribe to the channel, comment and share for regular updates.